How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my fourth segment of Real Talk. Today, I'd like to cover the topic of anti-crowdfunding, a narrative that's been going around a lot on social media. Now, this has been going around primarily due to some new players entering the market that are doing more of a direct sales approach or pre-order approach, where they're able to do the entire book in advance and then do a short pre-order period and then ship out to customers. Now, nobody's against this approach. In reality, most of us would love to do this approach. I essentially did this approach, give or take a couple weeks. I had the entire book complete before the end of crowdfunding, but I had to take a pretty big financial risk in doing so. And that's not something I expect other people to do. Also, my project wasn't as large as a lot of creators. So, what's happening is some of those new players are kind of, in my opinion, they're using, late books and other sentiments about crowdfunding to try to pull people towards their approach or try to hoard customers to strictly their products. Now, one thing I don't understand is, if you're in the indie market, indie community, however you want to call it, I wouldn't think you would want to bring down other indies just to lift yourself up. For example, Amazon. I don't see people that are doing crowdfunding campaigns trying to tell customers never order from Amazon. I certainly don't. Be hypocritical because most of us buy things off of Amazon. And what you're seeing with some of these new creators and their fans is they're saying, hey, you shouldn't buy crowdfunded books because there's a chance that you won't receive your book, there's late books, etc. And they're not very specific, right? They're not giving statistics about crowdfunding. They're just kind of painting this broad picture about crowdfunding. And a lot of times they're doing it in defense of their favorite creator or just kind of going along with that narrative and parroting it. Now, yes, there are some issues with crowdfunding from time to time, but it's very few specific creators that are doing it. And those creators are ones that are doing a crowdfunding and then they never release the product, right? They never ship the product. I think everyone can agree that is really bad. I don't think anyone's arguing that, but it's such a tiny percentage that I don't think it's right to, again, paint the entire crowdfunding community, with that same brush. Based on stats, I believe 94% of campaigns fulfill and ship. So again, it's about 6% that do not. And that isn't even specific to comics, right? That's just crowdfunding in general. There's so many different products on crowdfunding. So again, it's a very, very small percentage. It's no different than if you were to take your car to a mechanic, right? There's a small percent chance that that mechanic is going to be shit, right? They're not going to do the repair properly, but you don't just stop going to repair shops after that, right? I mean, unless you have the know-how to do it yourself, which most do not. So I don't think it's fair to judge all of, crowdfunding just off of a few bad apples. The other thing is this topic of, again, late books. Now, traditional customers of crowdfunding understand how crowdfunding works and how difficult things are for indie creators. They also understand that the creator provides an estimated ship date, right? It's not a promised ship date. It's not a guarantee. It's an estimation. And yes, creators at times, they've been a little bit overeager with that date, and then, they may end up shipping a couple months or so after the fact. And most customers, honestly, are fine with it. I am personally fine with it if those creators are providing updates. Because in crowdfunding, typically the creator will send out a mass update to all the backers saying, hey, here's where I'm at, this is what's going on. So if, for example, a creator gets sick, has a life event, or something happens with one of their artists, of course things are going to get delayed. Especially if you aren't in full control of every part of the process, right? If you're not drawing it, if you're not inking it, if you're not lettering it, shit happens, and, backers should understand that and, have some sympathy and understanding towards that, in my opinion. And, it's just really disappointing to see these new, I guess you could say, customers or fans of indie comics that are new to crowdfunding, almost trying to convince folks like, hey, you shouldn't back crowdfunders because this horrible thing can happen. Like, oh, you may lose $25, $35, when in reality it's a very, very small chance that that's going to happen. And what that's doing is that's damaging indie creators like myself, right? Because if some people are thinking about backing crowdfunders, right, they're kind of on the fence, they could be pushed off that fence by that narrative, and then myself or other creators could be out a backer or several backers. And I would never want to do anything that would damage the entire indie community, whether it's crowdfunding or direct sales. Again, I would never bash direct sales or pre-ordering just to help myself. Why? Because I would like to do direct sales, right? I would like to be able to have that luxury. And it just doesn't make sense to go after part of the community. I mean, just to lift yourself up. I don't understand that sentiment, honestly. And maybe that has to do with just, some people are in it for the money, right? Maximize profits and all of that. I mean, everybody wants to make money. Everyone wants to do this for a living, but even in the corporate world, I've never believed in stepping on others' backs just to lift yourself up. Because you're constantly dealing with people that will do that to you, right? They'll throw you under the bus. They'll try to climb over you and damage you. And, when you've been through that, you understand, like, hey, I wouldn't want to put somebody else through that, right? Especially if they don't deserve it. And going back to the Amazon topic, I understand that that's the easy route for a lot of novelists. It makes sense, because they can print and basically do everything. And so I would never tell customers, hey, don't go to Amazon because I don't like how Amazon, handles the financial side with authors. No, definitely not. But what I will try to do is tell creators, like, hey, when you're thinking about going to Amazon, you have to understand they're going to take a very large cut, right? Customer service might be hard to deal with. You may have print issues, right? Because these are things that I've experienced, but it's not me telling customers don't support these creators. The only thing I'm telling potential customers is like, hey, we're over here on Indiegogo and Kickstarter and Fund My Comic. So when you're thinking, I want to go look for a new indie book, don't forget about these sites. We're here too, right? So just look at all of the options. Don't just go to Amazon because that is the most known and the most convenient, right? So I'm not trying to tell people don't go to Amazon. I'm just telling them, hey, there are other places too where creators like myself are, so don't forget about us. So I'm hoping things change when it comes to this narrative that's being pushed. I understand because I've went through this process, with these novels, with this mini comic. I know how difficult it can be to get art completed, to do the crowdfunding, and I've heard of so many instances of people where, again, an artist gets sick or a life event happens, and yeah, they got to push that date back. So as long as they're communicating it, I don't see why people would use that against the indie community and the crowdfunding community. And the other thing too is in most cases, right, people are spending maybe between $25 and $50. Right? We're not talking about a creator sitting on hundreds of dollars. In some cases that may be true, but every creator has the option to ask for a refund at any point and then, have that discussion privately with the creator. And that, in my opinion, is how it should be done. And yeah, it's just there's so many good creators out there that are trying their best. They don't have the funds to just drop tens of thousands of dollars up front as much as they would love to. I know we all would if we had that that extra income. But I would hate to see people be pushed away from backing crowdfunding campaigns out of this boogeyman or fear of late books or books not being fulfilled. Every product, every service, there's always a chance you're going to get a bad product or a bad service. But you shouldn't judge all of those service providers, or all the products that are similar. That's just nonsense. That's like judging an entire religious group or race or ethnicity. Like, come on, these are basic, like, things that you should be taught as a child, and as an adult you should understand. Just because one creator may not have given you the best experience, it doesn't mean all of them won't give you a good experience or the best experience. So, my advice is, hey, just give it a try. Vet the creator. Watch their videos, listen to them talk, make your own judgment call. Don't be influenced by noise here and there. And I think as creators, we need to also help potential customers understand these things, these nuances about crowdfunding, and kind of ease people's worries or anxieties towards it, because of these narratives that are being pushed. So back crowdfunders, back indie creators. Speaking of crowdfunding, everyone needs to go check out Dragonrage by Jimmy Reyes. Jimmy is a top-notch guy who worked in the mainstream, was an inker for some major talent there, and he has creators such as David Finch on this campaign. So if you're a fan of fantasy and dragons, this gives you it all. So there's going to be a link below for the campaign. Here's some of the art. I mean, just look at this art. It's absolutely beautiful. It's detailed. This guy is pouring his heart and soul into this story. So again, fans of old fantasy tales, this is right up your alley. He's going to be fulfilling in the near future, and he's a guy you can absolutely trust. He provides updates, and I've worked with him personally, so I can definitely vouch for him. So please check it out. Let's try to get him to at least 38,000 by the end of next week, and let's lift up this indie community. All right. Thank you, everybody, and God bless.